Morgan Harper didn't need much to make her day perfect, just a sturdy lounge chair, an oversized sun hat, and a Saturday free of dispatch calls. After 3 relentless weeks juggling back-to-back shifts and all the politics that came with being chief of police, she yearned for a few hours of serene nothingness. She found it at Crestview Estates Community Pool, a spot she'd grown to love over the nearly 10 years she'd lived there. Crestview Estates wasn't some ritzy, gated celebrity enclave, but it was pleasant. Mid-range homes lined curving streets, each with neatly trimmed lawns and HOA rules that occasionally prompted debates among neighbors. Morgan had once volunteered on the Neighborhood Beautification Committee, so she'd grown used to seeing new neighbors come and go, typically greeted by a round of welcomes at the monthly community get-together. She'd lived here longer than most. Long enough to see children grow up and yards evolve from saplings to fully grown fruit trees. On this sunlit Saturday, Morgan was determined to enjoy the water's calming embrace. It was mid-morning when she locked up her modest brick-faced ranch house, sliding her arms through the straps of a large canvas tote and flipping on her shades. In her bag, sunscreen, a towel, a paperback novel she hadn't touched in weeks, and a small cooler with iced water. She wore navy blue workout shorts, a faded t-shirt, and old flip-flops, an outfit that practically screamed, "Day off." She stepped onto the sidewalk, inhaling the warm riverside air. A mild breeze shuffled through the budding leaves of the maple trees that lined the street. She passed by a few neighbors out walking dogs or jogging. Some waved, calling out, "Morning, Chief," or, "Hey, Morgan." She answered with a gracious nod and a casual, "Morning," maintaining her neighborly persona, distinct from her official role. This was Morgan off duty, another friendly resident in Crestview. Arriving at the community pool gate, she punched in the passcode, an upgrade the HOA had installed just last fall, and entered. The area was neatly designed, with a tall fence for privacy and safety, lounge chairs arranged around the perimeter, umbrellas shading a handful of seats, and a few blooming potted plants to brighten the space. She spotted Tyler, the local college kid who served as the part-time lifeguard, perched in his tall red chair. He grinned and gave a wave. "Morning, Miss Harper." "Morning, Tyler," she greeted, forging a path to a free lounge chair near the shallow end. She placed her tote on the concrete deck, set her cooler down, and sighed with contentment. The water surface sparkled under the California sunshine. A handful of neighbors were already here, an older couple reading beneath an umbrella, a father playing with his toddler in the shallow water, and a teen or two drifting near the deeper end. The chlorine smell danced with the faint aroma of someone's breakfast bacon from a yard across the fence. Morgan positioned the chair to face the sun, lathered on some SPF 50, and unfolded her paperback. She tried to focus on the storyline, some detective novel she'd started ages ago, but found herself drifting. She'd been juggling a million responsibilities as chief, budget meetings, department training sessions, city council proposals for new gear. The department had faced a wave of retirements that left them understaffed, and she was running on fumes. The half-laugh, half-sigh that escaped her lips was one of mild relief. At least for now, she could rest. After a few minutes, she set the book aside and leaned back, letting the sun warm her arms and legs. The hush of the pool lulled her, splashes, faint chatter, children's laughter. This was exactly what she needed. She shut her eyes, not to sleep, but just to savor. She wondered how many months had passed since she last felt this relaxed on a weekend. Too many, likely. 15 or 20 minutes slipped by. Morgan might have dozed lightly or simply drifted in her thoughts. Either way, her internal radar pricked up when she heard footsteps on the deck. They stopped not far from her lounge chair, and a man's voice cut in, "Excuse me. Are you supposed to be here?" Her eyes opened slowly. She blinked against the bright sky and saw a man in pressed khakis and a pale green polo, arms crossed. He was in his 40s, she guessed. Clean-shaven, hair carefully combed, and an expression that hovered between puzzlement and mistrust. He stood about 2 paces away, overshadowing her slightly. She sat up, adjusting her sunglasses, and gave him a neutral smile. I'm sorry. The man cleared his throat. I asked if you're supposed to be here. This pool is for Crestview Estates residents and their guests. We've had some issues with outsiders. Morgan's brow rose at the word outsiders. She sat straighter, feeling the shift in atmosphere. Yes, I'm a resident, she said gently. I've lived here a long time. Everything's fine. He didn't look convinced. I just moved in over on Mesa Drive a month ago, and I've never seen you around. Folks are protective here, so, mind showing some proof you live here? He said it with a forced politeness, but the posture, arms locked across his chest, chin tilted up, revealed he'd already decided she didn't belong. Morgan recognized that stance, the subtle air of authority some adopt when they feel someone else is intruding. She gave a polite but firm response. I'm Morgan Harper. My house is on Golden Oak Lane, about 5 doors from the corner. Been here almost 10 years, so yes, I belong. He let out a quiet scoff. Strange I've never run into you. Usually, neighbors cross paths at community gatherings. Morgan shrugged. I work irregular hours, so I often miss those get-togethers. But trust me, I pay my HOA dues like everyone else. He pursed his lips. Well, would you mind showing me your key fob or something? If you truly live here, you'd have it on you. She gestured at the tote bag. It's in there. But if you want me to fish it out just to prove myself to you, that's another matter. I'd prefer not to disrupt my relaxation. His frown deepened, arms still locked. So you won't, or you don't have it? Morgan inhaled calmly. It's right there, but I don't see why I owe you that. You've come at me with accusations, not courtesy. He bristled. Don't get defensive. I'm just looking out for the community. Behind him, the father paused playing with his toddler. Another neighbor, an older lady in a wide-brimmed hat, looked up from her magazine. The subtle shift told Morgan they sensed the tension, though none had intervened yet. Tyler, in the lifeguard chair, might have had headphones on but was half aware of the conversation. Morgan let a beat of silence pass, then spoke gently. Looking out for the community is good. But next time, maybe start with, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm new, are you my neighbor?" Because you came over like you were sure I was trespassing. He stiffened, color draining from his cheeks. We've had actual trespassers, you know. People slipping in to use the pool without paying dues. She gave him a measured look. I'm sure that happens, but not with me. He rubbed the back of his neck, glancing over his shoulder as if hoping someone would back him up. Well, I guess I'll call the HOA. They can verify or ask you to leave if you're fibbing. Morgan exhaled a mild sigh. Go ahead, if that's how you want to spend your day. They'll confirm I'm Morgan Harper, homeowner. But you might find it embarrassing that you marched up to confront me without checking facts. He bristled again at the word embarrassing, then replied, I'm Elliot, by the way. Elliot Carter. I don't feel any shame in protecting the pool from non-residents. Morgan nodded. Great. Hi, Elliot. Wish we'd started with an introduction. She noticed Ms. Dwyer, the older neighbor, was inching closer, perhaps ready to support her. A teenager near the shallow end took out her phone, not filming yet but clearly engaged. The father resumed playing with his toddler, though he threw a concerned glance in Morgan's direction. Elliot locked eyes on Morgan, sighing. All I want is a quick verification that you live here. You say you have it in your bag. Then we can both move on. Morgan decided to take a different approach. She reached down into the tote, rummaged for a moment, not for the key fob but for something else. Her hand emerged with a black leather case, which she flicked open. The sun glinted off a gold police badge, reading, Riverside Police Department, Chief of Police, Morgan Harper. Elliot blinked, stunned. She snapped it shut quietly, voice controlled. I'm not just a homeowner here. I'm the Chief of Police in Riverside, and I've lived in Crestview Estates for close to a decade. You can confirm my name on the HOA records if you like." The hush that followed was palpable. MS. Dwyer smirked behind her magazine, the father parted his lips in surprise, and the teen lowered her phone, brows raised. Elliot's mouth opened and closed before he croaked, I didn't realize." Morgan offered a tight smile. "Right, you didn't. Because you didn't ask. You assumed." Elliot swallowed. "I'm sorry. You just tried to push me out of my own neighborhood pool." He took a quick step back. "Look, I didn't mean any offense. I was just concerned." Morgan's gaze softened slightly. "If you were truly only concerned, you could have approached me differently. Introduced yourself, asked a friendly question. Instead, you demanded proof. That's not how neighbors do things." He shifted his weight from one foot to the other. "I guess I messed up. Like I said, I'm new." Morgan nodded. "And I'm not. I pay fees, I attend some events when I can, I've served on committees. If you want confirmation, check with Ms. Dwyer, check with the board, check with the folks at the corner lot who see me daily. But you'll get the same answer." He grimaced, clearly uncomfortable. "I see. I guess I should apologize." She allowed a brief silence. "That would be a good start." He cleared his throat. "Yeah. I'm sorry, Ms. Harper. Didn't mean to cause trouble." She lowered her sunglasses to rest on the brim of her hat. "Apology accepted." His shoulders slumped with relief. "Thank you. I'll leave you in peace, then." He turned and quickly exited through the gate, disappearing. The father resumed playing with his toddler. Ms. Dwyer came over to Morgan with a soft chuckle. "You handle that so calmly. I'm impressed." Morgan smiled, a tad weary. "When you're chief, you learn to keep your cool. But it's always a shame to see it happen in your own backyard." Ms. Dwyer patted her shoulder gently. "At least now he knows. And you'll probably get a half-baked apology in writing soon." Morgan laughed. "I'll be sure to frame it." She settled back on the lounge chair. Folks soon returned to their books, kids to their splashing. The teenager with the phone gave a final look, deciding there was nothing more to film. Tyler the lifeguard, who'd been half listening, gave Morgan a quick thumbs up of support from his perch. The rest of her pool time passed quietly, though a little bit of the earlier bliss had evaporated. She read a chapter of her paperback, sipped water, tried to refocus on the relaxing day she'd planned. As she left in the early afternoon, Ms. Dwyer walked with her part way, remarking, "We appreciate you. Not just for your job, but for being a good neighbor." Morgan patted Ms. Dwyer's arm. "Thanks, that means a lot." By the following morning, the story had already spread. Word of mouth in Crestview Estates worked quickly, especially regarding any incident that included the local police chief. A couple of neighbors texted Morgan to see if she was all right. She assured them it was no big deal, just a new resident who'd made assumptions. Some neighbors reacted with mild outrage on her behalf, but Morgan insisted she was fine. That Monday, she returned to her desk at the station, sifting through the usual avalanche of emails. One message from an officer read, "Heard you had to flash the badge at the pool. Good for you, Chief." She responded with a short, handled it politely, no drama. Another email from the city manager asked if there was any official complaint from her. She said no, she wasn't filing anything. A few days later, she bumped into Ken, the HOA president, near the community clubhouse. He quickly apologized on Elliot's behalf. "Elliot's a bit overzealous. Just joined the HOA watch group last month. We never meant to have neighbors policing each other like that." Morgan shook her head. "It's fine, Ken. Let's just make sure people approach each other with civility." Ken gave her a nod, then a slightly sheepish grin. He already told me the story, some version of it, anyway, and I set him straight. I suggested he attend a real, Meet Your Neighbor, event, or at least read the directory properly. She chuckled. Appreciate it. That weekend, Morgan decided to go for a morning walk around Crestview, something she used to do regularly before her schedule got insane. Passing by the wide sidewalks, she admired how each yard, though modest, showed a personal touch. Some had flower beds bursting with color, others displayed lawn gnomes or small bird baths. Near the corner of Oak Grove Drive, she saw a row of newly planted palm saplings, an HOA initiative to keep the neighborhood looking bright and inviting. She turned onto a side street and nearly ran into Elliot himself, who was out trimming hedges in his front yard. He froze when he spotted her. "Oh, hi, Miss Harper." She offered a gentle smile. "Hey, Elliot. How's it going?" He set down his pruning shears. "Better. I wanted to say sorry again about the other day. I was out of line." Morgan nodded, letting a few beats pass. "I appreciate that. I'm not holding a grudge." He exhaled, relieved. "I felt really dumb once I realized you weren't just a resident but, well, you know, the chief of police. And a neighbor for years. That was embarrassing." She shrugged lightly. "I understand you're new, but in the future, you might want to approach people with a friendlier tone. Could save everyone some grief." He ran a hand through his hair. "I get it. Lesson learned. I guess I was overzealous about keeping the place secure, but I see now that I jumped to conclusions." Morgan gave him a measured look, scanning his expression. She didn't sense any defiance left in him, only contrition. "We all make mistakes," she said. "So, no harm done, as long as we move forward." Elliot nodded earnestly. "Thank you. That means a lot. If there's anything I can do to make it up, like, if you need help with community stuff, let me know." She smiled. "We have a neighborhood cleanup day next month. You can help with that if you'd like." He gave a small laugh. "Done. Consider me signed up." With that, Morgan continued her walk, feeling lighter. The chat with Elliot had gone smoother than expected, reinforcing her belief that a straightforward conversation can sometimes correct these misunderstandings. She swung by the small local cafe near the neighborhood gate, the Corner Roast, for an iced latte. Jonah, the barista, teased her about the pool incident, joking that, "We always knew you were fierce, Chief." She brushed it off with a grin. The rumor mill in Crestview was thorough, apparently. Over the next few weeks, life carried on as usual. Morgan balanced city policing with attempts at normalcy in the evenings, occasionally unwinding at the pool or chatting with neighbors on her porch. Her hair would still stand on end sometimes, recalling the intensity of her job, but the sense of community in Crestview Estates grounded her, despite the tensions that sometimes flared. At one of the monthly HOA gatherings in the clubhouse, Morgan showed up. She'd managed to shift her schedule, and found Elliot setting up chairs. He shot her a quick smile and nod of respect, a stark contrast to the confrontational stance by the pool. The meeting concerned landscaping improvements and parking regulations, routine topics. Morgan offered a few comments about street safety, and Elliot echoed her suggestions, clearly eager to show he was on board with being a positive presence. After the meeting, Ms. Dwyer and Tyler cornered Morgan to chat about a new holiday party planning committee. She graciously declined, citing her hectic workload, but promised she'd drop by to help if she could. Tyler teased, "We're just happy you show up at the pool from time to time, Ms. Harper. It's like you're the pool's guardian." She chuckled. "I'd rather be off duty when I'm there, though. You do a fine job as the lifeguard." Word of the incident had mostly died down by then. But Morgan had glimpses that people were still telling the story to newcomers, perhaps as a cautionary tale about not assuming too much. Her neighbor, Ms. Winston, mentioned a conversation she overheard at the local hardware store, where someone bragged about accidentally messing with the local chief. Morgan got a good laugh out of that one, imagining Elliot's sheepish face. But she also realized the deeper significance. Had she not been chief of police, would Elliot have believed her? Or would he have pressed harder, perhaps called security or attempted to forcibly remove her? Morgan had seen far too many examples in her professional life where someone got harassed, overshadowed, or even physically confronted simply because they looked out of place. It wasn't a comforting thought. She was thankful at least that, in her own neighborhood, she had enough standing, and a gold badge, if needed, to defuse such suspicion swiftly. Yet as she told Ms. Dwyer one day, I shouldn't need a badge to prove I live here. No one should need a badge to sit by the pool in their own community. Ms. Dwyer wholeheartedly agreed, patting Morgan's hand in solidarity. Months passed, and the story drifted into Crestview's small archive of anecdotes, like the time someone vandalized the tennis court, or when a coyote wandered onto the golf course. It became one more piece of the local tapestry, told around backyard barbecues. Did you hear about the day the chief had to flash her badge to a newbie who doubted she lived here? Some recounted it with a comedic spin, some with a more serious lens highlighting assumptions about people's backgrounds. Through it all, Morgan stayed her course, leading a busy police department by day, being a supportive neighbor by night. She'd see Elliot in passing, share a curt but friendly wave. Over time, he softened up, occasionally asking for her opinion on local safety matters in a respectful way. She gave him tips on how to help neighbors feel safe without turning vigilante. He listened, seemingly grateful for her patience. On the first warm Saturday of the following summer, Morgan found herself back at the pool, wearing a bright yellow t-shirt with "off-duty" printed in bold letters on the front. She'd found it in a novelty store, thought it was hilarious, and wore it with a grin. She settled onto a lounge chair, sipping water, letting the day's warmth envelop her. A short while later, Elliot walked in, this time with a pair of flip-flops and a beach towel, looking a lot more relaxed. He spotted her, paused, then gave a friendly wave before finding a seat across the pool. No tension, no confrontation, just two neighbors. Tyler joked from the lifeguard stand, "You're safe today, Ms. Harper." I see Elliot's got his official proof of residence ready. The pool deck rippled with gentle laughter. Morgan gave a brief laugh herself, returning a playful shrug. Guess no one's questioning anyone's right to be here, huh? The father, who'd previously witnessed the old standoff, nodded vigorously. They all returned to their reading, splashing, or sunbathing, and the day wore on in easy comfort. Morgan eventually waded into the water, floating lazily and chatting with Ms. Winston about the upcoming 4th of July community party. A calm sense of belonging wrapped around her. This was the normal she'd always wanted at Crestview Estates, a place where being chief of police was just one piece of who she was, not the only thing that defined her. By the late afternoon, as she left the pool area, Elliot approached her carefully, a mild expression on his face. "Hey, Miss Harper, I just wanted to say thanks for letting me help out on the holiday party committee. I feel more connected to the neighborhood now. And sorry again for that first encounter." She gave him a kind smile. "No worries. We all have our moments. Glad we're neighbors." And with that, they parted ways, no tension, no accusations, only the mutual respect that blossomed from understanding. Morgan felt a quiet satisfaction. In the swirl of life, with all its complexities and clashing personalities, this small corner of Riverside had found a way for two neighbors to coexist, bridging an awkward start with courtesy, conversation, and a bit of humility on both sides. In the grand scheme, it was a minor tale. But for Morgan, it stood as a reminder that the best defense against prejudice or misunderstanding wasn't always the loudest confrontation. Sometimes it was simply standing your ground calmly, letting facts and personal confidence do the talking. Her uniform, her badge, and her role as chief might have helped end that poolside fiasco swiftly, but in her mind, it was the straightforward truth, "I live here," that sealed it. Years later, people would still recall the day Morgan Harper, local police chief, quietly flashed her badge at the community pool to correct a newcomer's assumptions. It became part of Crestview Estates lore, a testament to the notion that you never really know who your neighbor is until you ask. And Morgan, for her part, continued to embody the principle that dignity and respect can speak volumes, far louder than any raised voice or bitter argument.